Last week, we talked to my oldest son, who's 15. And this week, I convinced Mackenzie to come on the podcast so that you could hear a girl's perspective. This was, after all, her idea to interview the kids. So I'm so excited that she said yes. So this is sort of like part 2 of what will happen to my kids because I was a working mom. Because that was always my biggest fear, right? If you're listening to this week before last week, totally fine. You don't need to listen to that episode for this episode to make sense. But the conversation is continuing here this week on the biggest fear of mine, which was that it was going to hurt my kids long term because I worked. And this is a common fear that I find in so many of my friends that are working moms. They're always thinking that it's going to like affect their kids long term. Although it's just never a fear that dads have. Like dads are never worried that if they work, that it's going to psychologically damage their children for the rest of their lives. But as moms, it's normal for us to think this, right? And that's because of the way that our kids are socialized. It's the way that we live in such luxury here in the United States, where many families maybe only have one parent that has to work or whatever it is. And so anyway, this is Mackenzie and she is 13. And when I started working, she was 5. Wow. So you were in kindergarten. You were literally going into kindergarten the year that I started working, building my network marketing business, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, what do you remember about life before I worked?
I just remember I would always play Barbies with you, and it'd be fun, and we'd just play a lot and talk a lot, and you would take me out a lot on mommy daughter dates or whatever. And
where do you remember going?
I remember going to Five Guys a lot.
Really?
And then going to the mall and going to Justice.
I feel like that was when you were a little bit older though.
That's what I remember. I remember I got a bow for Justice for kindergarten.
The pink one.
Yeah.
Was that the pink one that you wore on the soccer field and we were like, she's not a soccer player. This girl is a dancer. Yeah. And you had hot pink. I was actually I was already doing network marketing then. So I was talking to Brennan and he said he doesn't, last week when we talked to Brennan, he said that he didn't really remember you as a baby, but he remembered you as a toddler because when you and Brennan were little, right? He was 2 when you were born, 3 weeks before you were born, he turned 2.
Yeah.
Or 3 weeks after. Yeah. 3 weeks after. And you were such an amazing baby. You never cried, such a good nurser. I always said, because we didn't kill Brennan, God gave us Mackenzie.
Oh,
because he was such a hard baby, but mostly because of us. I think I was the problem. I don't think Brennan was the problem. I'm pretty sure I was the problem because, and Mackenzie was just a dream baby. She's don't take credit for my amazingness. So Mackenzie, literally slept through the night. When we brought her home from the hospital, she was such an amazing nurser. Everything was easy with her. I had tons of milk. And so by the time she was 3 weeks old, we were ready to go. We were at the aquarium again. We were going to the zoo. We were doing the children's museum. We were very
children's museum.
Oh yeah, the Gateway Discovery Museum. You don't remember the balls that the ball bins?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. And the grocery store in that place, you never really made it that far.
I know. I remember there's a picture on your phone,
and
it has a picture of Brandon carrying bread, and
yeah,
he was working somewhere.
Yeah, that's that.
Harmon's.
Yeah, but it was Children's Discovery Museum in downtown Salt Lake City. So I used to take you guys there every single week. We had a pass and all of that, and so those are the things that we used to fill our day with when you guys were little and were in school, right? And then sort of the conversation that Brendan and I were having is he said, well, I remember when you started working, everything became a lot less mellow, right?
Yeah, I remember I did cheer.
Oh gosh.
And
that was a traumatic experience for us all.
And you'd always work, and I had to go straight from school to cheer. And one of our babysitters would pick us up.
Oh yeah, that was when Amelia was picking you up from school.
And I remember I missed you so much.
Aww.
And I would have panic attacks at cheer because I wouldn't see you from because she didn't wake up in the mornings. Like she slept in a lot.
I slept in a lot then.
And then I wouldn't see you till cheer got out at like 8,
Mhm.
7-ish.
Mhm. No, that's not true. I got up in the morning with you guys then, back
At
then.
the very end.
No. I got, because dad was still working all the time. So I was the one that got you ready for school that whole time. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I remember you came down when we were leaving to the song Heart to Break and you were dancing.
No, that
so
that was when you were in 3rd grade.
I was in 3rd grade.
Yes. I had already been working for 4 years at that point.
Oh.
See, so like they're not going to remember anyway. Okay. So there was that. I had babysitters that picked you up from school. You missed me a lot. You didn't like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just like wasn't used to like having all that time with you. And then having like barely any time with you, but then I got more like into sports and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I would kind of like take my mind off of it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But cheer didn't.
Cheer was, so she was doing competitive dance and competitive cheer, because I didn't really know that you shouldn't do those 2 things at the same time. Yeah. So I signed her up for both because I was like, I cheered. Maybe she would love to cheer.
Not all-star.
Max cheerleading, they do not mess around here in Utah. They like win nationals and like do everything. So it's like hardcore cheer.
And also we wouldn't win a lot because there was 2 max gyms and the mini team at our cheer or at our thing.
Yeah, that was a rough year.
That's good. And I had a friend on the other team.
Mackenzie likes to win.
And I remember I had a friend on the other team and she would always win. And I'm like, oh, well, we got 2nd.
Yeah, that was a hard year.
When I quit, they got 1st.
Yeah, that was a hard year. Okay, so tell me, what would you say are the benefits to having a working mom?
You get to go on more trips to Disneyland.
And that is true. That's what Brennan said too. Because we never got to go anywhere as a family before.
And we'd always drive, and now we get to fly.
Yeah, I hate driving too. It's so much better to fly. Okay, what else?
We don't like it's. I feel like we can not like explore more. Like we would like have to get the same groceries every time. And now if we want to try something new, we can look at it and be like, if we don't like it, we can try something else. I feel like when we didn't do that, we couldn't get as many groceries when you first started because we weren't making as much money.
It's so true. We were like, I had to be so strict about our food budget back then.
And now you're more like open.
This is fun. Let's try this.
Yeah.
So maybe like a little bit less stress, like you feel it in like literally the groceries. That's interesting. Okay. What do you think is the biggest positive now in your life?
Now in my life?
Yeah.
Just like having like the pool and like at the beginning when you were like working really hard to get all this money, now since it's like I guess calmed down or like been more chill since you know how to do your job and you're really good at your job.
Because I was a freaking hot mess in the beginning, guys.
We can, since we have like the pool and stuff and like a nice house, we can do stuff together and we don't always have to go out to do it. Like even you just like sitting by the pool and me swimming feels like spending time together.
I know, I love that. That's the best. We totally have more time together. And even though there was a time where I was never around because I was building my legacy. Yeah. So that's kind of like, was it worth it? Yeah. Like looking back, are you glad that we made that sacrifice as a family? Yeah.
I feel like it'd be weird if we didn't make that sacrifice. It'd just be different, I guess.
Brennan said that he thought it was worth it too. Yeah. What about the whole dad thing? Like, do you remember him being around or?
All I remember is I would like when I used to wake up early, he would have to go to BNI.
Oh yeah.
In the morning.
So BNI is like a networking group for businessmen or whatever. And it meets on Thursdays at 7 a.m. here in Utah.
And I would always like wake up early. Like I just remember in the summer, I guess, or I don't know how that was. And he would always go there and then he would come back super late. Or not like on the days he had to do the other thing, physical therapy. Yeah, physical therapy. I would like barely see him, and then like, and I feel like it was just better because now, like, if one parent's working, like let's say my dad has to do something, and so my mom will come and pick us up, and if my mom has to do something, then my dad will come and pick us up. And I feel like it's better to have not like both parents working as hardcore, so I can spend time with both of them.
So you kind of feel like it's a little more balanced now.
Yeah,
but it was out of balance in the beginning, and that kind of sucked.
And my mom's never on time.
That's true. Sean is so much better at getting the kids places than I am.
Yeah, that's why I make my dad drive me.
Yeah, I hate driving. Okay, so when you grow up, do you think you'll have a family? Do you have a desire to work, or do you want to be a stay-at-home mom, or have you thought about that at all?
I haven't really thought about that, because all I thought about is like when I graduate college, I want to go to school that has a good dance program, and then just build up from there. But I don't think dance. I could do dance after having kids.
You totally could,
but I haven't like thought about.
You could do whatever you want. So like when you do you think about you never want to work because of your experience with me working, or are you like, no, it wouldn't be so bad?
It wouldn't be bad.
So like you're not like totally opposed to it, like it hasn't ruined your life. But
when you first started, I felt like it ruined my life because we wouldn't play Barbies anymore.
Oh.
And I don't know. And then like since I don't know, it just like doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe since I got older and like matured about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting to hear your perspective too. And I know like a lot of you listening on the podcast, these are some of your fears too, right? Like, I think for me, again, I didn't ask my kids these questions before. I'm hearing them for the first time at the same time as you're hearing her respond back here. Like, I didn't tell them before, even though she wanted me to give her the questions before, because she's like my planner and like wants to know ahead of time and everything. But I didn't give her the questions beforehand because I really wanted to know like what she was going to say. I didn't want to sway her or anything like that. And I know for me as a mom, like my biggest fear in those early years when I was building my business was, are they going to hate me because I'm focused on building this for us? And is it going to affect my relationship with my kids? And it's going to affect your relationship with your kids either way. If I wouldn't have worked, it would have affected my relationship with my kids because we couldn't buy the groceries at the grocery store. We couldn't go on the trips. So I think sometimes when we catastrophize in our head, like this is going to affect my relationship with my kids, we block ourselves from seeing it's 100% going to affect your relationship, whether you do or don't. So it's just a matter of do what you feel in your heart to be right, for you'll be criticized anyway. And then keep your priorities in focus. I always was very focused on what we were going to get in the end as I was building my business, right? And like, this is it. This is why we work so hard as a family. And like, would you want to go back to how it was before? And it's totally fine if you do. So no, you wouldn't want to go back. No. Yeah. And so it was worth it. Yeah. And it's just like one of those things where you're like, okay, it was worth it. We did it. Like I felt like that, but it's so fun to hear you and Brennan both, because you remember me not working, where Dean and Chase, they don't remember at all. They just grown up with a working mom. But it's fun to hear like both of you say it was worth it. We're so glad you did it.
And it was like fun to see you grow and like get more successful in your business.
What was fun about that?
Seeing my mom on stage and being able to like watch her when she goes on trips. Just seeing all the pictures.
I love you. You're so fun. That's so fun. I think there's something to be said about showing your children that anything is possible that you put your mind to, you know, because like now you know that you could do anything you want because you've seen me do it. And it just like sets that standard for your kids and like shows them what's possible. So thanks for letting me interview you today.
Yeah.
Love you so much.
Love you too.
All right, you guys, you heard it from the mouth of babes last week and this week. Go after your dreams.
Babes.
Yeah, mouth of babes. I mean, they're like teenagers now or whatever. All right, everybody. Have an amazing day. Bye now.